Today's podcast is brought to you by 5 and 2 Deli Market. 5 and 2 Deli Market, located on 641 Mark Street. For all of your loaves and fish needs, go check them out.
It's good. That's a good one.
Heard they multiply.
Very good joke. Okay, thanks. How's everybody doing? Y'all doing all right?
Doing okay.
I'm excited. We are finally in our third episode. We made it.
Number 3.
Some of y'all didn't think we'd make it to the second one, and we did. We made it to
But we're
number 3. Hopefully our camera will work this time, so it'll be put up on YouTube. I really appreciate that. But man, life is good.
Life is good.
And life is grand.
Life is beautiful.
I heard we have another question for today.
We do. We have another email. It's for Brittany this time.
Man, that's exciting.
I know, right? It says, hang on, let me pull it up here. Let me pull it up here. Hang on. It's for Brittany, like I said. Question of the day for Brittany. It says, what advice do you have to other young women who are trying to get into the ministry?
Oh, well, first off,
Or ministry in general. Just,
ministry in general, I think you really need to make sure that God is calling you in that direction, because ministry is not just some fun game that you can just, stop and resume whenever you want to. It's something that you're going to have to do your whole life. Like, there's no retirement out of ministry. You need to make sure that you're called to do that. And I would also encourage you, if you are a woman, that there's going to be girls looking up to you, and we need that type of role in our churches. I think women are more in the church than ever, even more, I would say, than men. At least here at Trinity, that seems to be the truth.
Yeah.
And seeing women take leadership roles as like leading a Bible study, or even helping running the youth, stuff like that, being the secretary, that's a huge role to fill, and it's letting younger girls and younger generations coming up see that, hey, they could have an actual position in a church one day, and that's important.
good.
And ministry is not easy.
No.
I mean, it takes a lot of energy out of you, and that's been one of the things that I've been noticing just in general, and the things that as we've been going through this pandemic, is I personally in ministry, I thought I was going to have a bunch of free time. I thought I would literally have all this free time to be doing some things, but it really has been an interesting time, because I feel like we're more busier than ever. I feel like I'm stressed a little bit more. I feel like I'm emotionally drained all the time, because you just don't know what tomorrow holds. How's this pandemic been affecting you guys? Work related, outside of ministry, in ministry, all the above?
So personally, I go to school at Northern Kentucky University. I'm a senior this year, and I'm in my internship. So everything's been switched to online. I'm finishing out my college career online, and even my internship is all at home online. So it's been really different. It's kind of stressful in that sense, but it's also given me a lot more free time to serve at my church and pour into like outreach opportunities here. So I'm thankful for that. So,
Good.
yeah.
Which may be one of the reasons we're more busier, because we have more free time.
Right.
Yeah.
As far as,
Or you think you have more free time.
well, yeah, technically we definitely do have, I
definitely
guess.
do.
But
I guess
what about you, Andrew?
we're filling it with other things.
Yes.
What about you? How's this impacting you?
Oh man, work is it's different, definitely different. It's having to adjust because I don't work here. I mean, I work in Kentucky, but like I travel, so worrying about 2 different places, because I got to worry about here and Ohio. You know how they're handling it, or what the situation is up there. Worrying about the hotel, worrying about everything. I mean, there's a lot that goes into my job.
And trying to figure out, ministry-wise, trying to figure out how to stay in contact with people that you cannot see has been very hard. Trying to make sure that you're reaching out to the seniors of your church, the older people of your church, making sure that they're getting everything that they need, make sure that they're being ministered to still. That's a very hard balance to do, and I know a lot of churches are failing at that right now, because not everybody has Facebook. So we're trying to manage that as well. So it's a weird time to be doing ministry. But it's also, and from a leadership standpoint, all across the board, I don't care how big your church is or how little your church is, we're all on the same playing field, right? We're all on the same field as far as nobody's ever done this before. We're all trying to navigate it. And the more that we can come together as churches during this time, the better. I think it's going to be more of an impact as far as how we're going to be able to navigate through this, and I think it's going to say a lot about us once we get out of this thing and start having church again when we come together. So I think that's the only way we can do it, is come together. So anyway, let's talk about a little bit about some things that we're doing as a church during this time, because personally, I believe that this is the greatest time and the greatest opportunity to grow as a church. This is the greatest opportunity for us to do outreach and to pour into our community.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't feel that way. A lot of people don't feel that way. And the thing about it is, as our church, we've been blessed financially here lately, right? Our offering's up, which has been a really positive thing. We've been getting donations for food and things. So it's been such a blessing to us to be able to see our congregation step up and make sure that the church is running efficiently and still have the supplies and resources we need to be able to pour into our community. It's been encouraging. I love it.
Yeah.
It's been exciting. So let's talk about some of the outreach that we're doing, some of the outreach, maybe even some other churches are doing that are encouraging to us. And because I'm telling you, if as a church, if you're listening and you're part of a church, if your church isn't actively reaching into the community at this time, you're missing out on a lot of great opportunities.
The way I look at it, especially now, is a lot of the people that you're trying to reach, the lost people, right? They don't necessarily want to come to church. So in a sense, we're bringing church to them. You know, we're literally going to their house with Facebook, with YouTube. I mean, we're literally coming to them. So, like you said, we have no excuse to.
And for good reason.
Yeah.
I do not, when I have to go to it, even me, when I have to go to a new church, I get nervous.
Oh yeah.
When I go to a new church, I get nervous. I don't know where I park. I don't know where I'm supposed to go. In some churches, you know, they are set in their ways as far as where people sit. And so you don't want to sit in a pew that somebody else is sitting in. And so there's a lot of nerves that go into it. Now, because this is what we're running into now, we have generations that are growing up that have never even stepped foot inside of a church. So trying to tell them to come inside this reverent building that's all nice and people are dressed up, and telling them to walk into this building and be comfortable is something that it's not going to happen.
Right.
And so they're going to be even more nervous. If they have kids, they're going to be nervous. If their kids are going to act up. There's a million things going on in people's heads about why they can't walk into a physical building.
Yeah.
Which brings me to your point. This is a great time because they're not having to come to our building. We're going to them. Mm-hmm. And I think at the end of the day, I hope and pray that this is what churches do all the time now, that we are always constantly trying to figure out how to go to them. Because that's the only way we're going to be able to get to the gospel to everybody. That's the only way.
Well, old time, not necessarily old time church, but in a sense, old time church doesn't work anymore, right?
No.
Just like opening up the doors and saying, hey, they'll show up, you know. Necessarily that doesn't work anymore. So we have to adjust just like at the time.
And when Billy Graham was doing his crusades, right, he'd bring all these people into these revivals, right? Revivals were massive. These crusades were massive. He'd bring all these people in, and then he would tell them, go to your local church. Mm-hmm. And so people were being sent to the local church. They were being encouraged. They were being sent to the local church. There is no Billy Graham right now. There's nobody that's doing that. There's nobody that's telling people to go to the local church or explaining why you should go to the local church. There's nobody doing that. And so it's just us churches out here, and but a lot of churches still have that mindset that if I open my doors on Sunday morning, people are just going to walk on in. That's not the case. It's not going to happen. We have to actually go out there, build those relationships, because relationships is very important too in our day and age. If we're not building relationships with people, they're not going to trust us, right? Especially young kids.
Oh yeah.
Young kids, they don't care what the music is. They don't care even how the preacher is, how young or old the preacher is. All they care about is sitting there. I don't know what y'all are laughing about.
You said music.
Music.
They don't care. They don't care what music.
Music. Sorry.
I'll just say
I'm sorry.
But they don't care about any of those things. All they care about is there someone in that church that is going to build a relationship with me? Is there someone there that I can reach out to in times of trouble? And those are things that we have to be aware of. And as a church, it has to be on the forefront of our minds at all times. Mm-hmm. You know, we're not just sitting there preaching to people. We're not just sitting there having our doors open. But we need to be constantly looking at ways we can build relationships with people so that they, know that we love them and that God loves them.
Yeah, that's the most important thing. Yeah.
And I like that you said trust. One other thing that we're doing right now as a church is we committed to serving meals to school kids that are on spring break right now. So Pendleton County Schools, where our church is located, they're on spring break. They needed churches to step up. So us, along with probably 5 other churches, in Pendleton County have opened our doors to serve the community in that way. And what's happened is they're seeing that, hey, like, you can trust the church. They're going to be there for you
Yes.
in your times of needs, and I think that's great. And not only, we've had 200 meals each day, so we're probably seeing about 100 people a day, and none of those 100 people come to our church.
No.
Yeah.
So that is a great way for, hey, we're Trinity, here you go, here's your food, we're thinking of you, we love you, we're praying for you. Let us know if you need anything.
And I'll even back that up a little bit, because to have a relationship, I mean, the fact that the schools thought about the church when it came to who's gonna help us out during spring break, who can we trust in our community to help us out, and they go, let's do the churches.
Yeah.
The fact that that was their mindset, the school systems, like, that says a lot about our work in the community. It really does. It says, you know, I think we can't underestimate all the things. When I think about this pandemic that we're going through, and I think about just all the things that were put in place for the year, we've been here, what, year and 4 months?
Yeah.
Yeah.
something like that.
All the stuff was put in place, all the things that God was opening doors and closing doors. I think all that stuff, we wouldn't be doing as well as we're doing right now if God didn't do all those things. If He didn't, you know, spur us to do live streaming in January. You know, there's a million things that happened that now I look back and I go, you know, we were prepared for this, not knowingly, but because of that. And one of it is our outward focus that we've had since we started at Trinity,
Yeah.
which is go out into the community. And then now we're able to benefit from it because they trusted us in a time when we could help.
Right, and I'm glad you said that. It shows that the churches who weren't willing to change or weren't willing to adapt to online stuff or social media stuff
They're struggling.
before, they're struggling now because it's new to them, like 100% new to them. They have no idea what they're doing,
Yeah.
and it shows.
And it does show, and it breaks my heart because, you know, they're scrambling and they're even more emotionally drained and stressed because, you know, they just can't figure it out. So we've been trying to help a few churches with their online services, and I've been excited to be able to help. But this is one of the things that I don't think we can stress enough to people is the importance of outreach during times like this, right? Where, and for me, it almost is an eye-opening experience because moving forward, when we do our budget for next year, like, we're gonna put in place a relief fund. I mean, we're gonna we need this. I did not mentally or physically prepare for something to happen like this that would be this prolonged. Like, we could have done something for a week if a tornado came or
Right.
another flood came. We're prepared for something like that that's maybe a little bit more short term, but we don't know when this is going to end.
Yeah.
And so we don't have the funds or the means
To keep going.
to keep going if this went forever. But that's something that we're going to look into that really opened my eyes is there's needs that need to be met that we weren't necessarily prepared for. Now, to say that, it's important to also say that it's been a blessing to see people step up. It's been a blessing to see church members step up as well as us. And I've been tickled to death about it.
It's encouraging.
Let's talk about some of the outreach that we did, why we're doing some of the outreaches, and then talk about the importance of it.
Well, I know that Brittany had hit on it just a little bit, but we have served well over probably 1,000.
Well, let's
meals.
talk about the meals. So explain how the meals went down, how they gave us 200 and then.
Well, the local school system had been given out, since school had been out, they had been given, I guess Monday through Friday, they had been giving out meals for the school kids.
Yes.
Just because, they weren't in school, so they wanted to feed them. And they had been serving like 600 to 700 meals a day at the one location, the one school. And they split up between 5 different churches. They split up 200 meals to all those churches, so 1,000 meals, and they expected those to last all week. Obviously, a little math was wrong there. I don't know how they figured this was supposed to happen. Not that it's a bad thing because it opened up some doors, but the church, with some other local churches' support and a couple members' support, we ended up being able to prepare the rest of the week's food for the whole, Monday, for Tuesday through Friday.
800 meals short.
Yeah, so we went on Tuesday and got some stuff for Wednesday and Tuesday and Wednesday, and then,
I get a phone call on Monday. Let me explain this. I get a phone call on Monday said, hey, we're out of all the food, which that was supposed to last us all week.
Which we expected it a little bit.
We expected it
Someone told
to
us,
be
you know.
short just a little bit, but not that,
Short.
not all on
About
Monday.
800 meals short.
And so for me, it was panic mode, because I'm like, well, what are we gonna do? We can't do anything. You know, we weren't financially prepared for it. But then to see that people step up and give when we didn't, I wasn't even really sure how to do it, but people gave, and we were able to provide 800 extra meals through our own resources. It's just amazing to me. And to see the people, because they noticed, they recognized it immediately, that we were using our own resources to feed them. And I think that's really said a lot to them as well, which has been really encouraging.
And I remember on Monday, when all this had happened, we were, I mean, it felt like all day we were debating on either even doing it all week or
Yeah.
doing it, 2 more days. But the fact that we did it all week, I guess shows our ability to adapt, to
Yeah.
change to that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because now, I mean, looking back to today's Friday, we're able to add an outreach opportunity on each bag. Like we stapled our service times to the bag.
Yeah.
So I guess if we wouldn't have done it all week, we wouldn't have been able to do that. So.
No. And God has really been opening my eyes to the fact that, people are caring, people are needing help in our community. And if we can just do just a simple thing like giving them a bag, it really is saying a lot about our church. It says a lot about just the camaraderie. That's one of the reasons I love our small town, because we're all in this together,
Yeah.
and we seem to always kind of band together. But another outreach that we've been really focused on right in the very beginning was these certain businesses are open, the grocery stores, the banks. There's certain places that are open, the restaurants. One of the things that we wanted to do at the very beginning was we wanted to send them all a letter saying, hey, we're thinking about you, we care about you, we're praying for you. And we did that with all the essential businesses and the law enforcement offices. And that was something that also I think was encouraging to them to know that there are churches that are praying for them. I can't stress it enough. These people, when everything is hopeless, the church has to be the one to step up and be the hope. We have to be the light in the darkness. And I think sometimes if you're not careful, you can get nervous and you can become so inwardly focused that you forget that. You forget it. And so anyway, that's one of the things that has been really encouraging. Another thing we've been doing, there was a single mother that was in need right as this happened. She needed clothes, she needed furniture, she needed stuff for her kids. And so we were able to donate all those stuff this week. And so those things are I've just been tickled to death by the resources that have been coming, the people that have been donating, even when they, who knows, everybody's financial situation is kind of up in the air. And to see people step up and to give, that's been so just encouraging. We also had our partnership with another church in our area. They have a food pantry on Tuesdays. And so they were needing some non-perishable items. We helped donate to that. That was also cool too, to see people. I think we had over
In a week.
Yeah, 200 food items that we were able to donate to them so that they can continue their ministry as well. Those are just things that are just so important to us. And as I look back, they're just, God keeps blessing us. That's the only thing I can say. God just keeps blessing us and blessing us. In Romans chapter 10, I want to look at this. In Romans chapter 10, in verse 14, it says, how then will they call on him in whom they have not believed? How will they believe in him who they have not heard? And how will they hear without a preacher? How will they preach unless they're sent? Just as it is written, how beautiful are the feet of those who bring good news of good things. We have to understand as a church that I don't care if there's a pandemic or not. People will not hear God's word if we don't tell them.
Yeah.
Right? I can't expect my kids, I can't expect them to listen or know exactly what they're supposed to do if I don't tell them what to do. Right? I can't expect them to pick up their bedroom when it's dirty if I don't tell them to do it. I gotta physically tell them to do it. And I think as churches we have gotten behind on that, which we think that people know what church is, we think that people know what Jesus is. They don't. So we have to tell them.
And a lot of people now are getting to the point where they don't want to hear it anymore, so they're acting like they know, just so you stop telling them. But that doesn't mean you should stop. And I told our youth on this past Wednesday's lesson, just because the world stopped, just because you can't meet your friends in person anymore, doesn't mean you should stop telling them about Jesus, because, he'll get us through it.
And now more than ever, they need to know.
Oh, yeah. Because they're all looking for it. They're all looking
Yep.
for some sort of light at the end of the tunnel, like you said.
100%. Saw a picture online about Barnes & Noble, one of the Barnes & Noble somewhere, I think it was in Georgia, and the spiritual section, empty.
It's true.
People are looking for answers. So I just hope that as a church, we're ready for them when they come back, because sometimes we aren't. We aren't.
And I'm glad, like you said earlier, I think it shouldn't stop.
No.
Gotta
And
keep
I'd
going.
like to encourage the church leaders in churches that, hey, if you're just doing online services right now, there's so much more that you could be doing in the communities. People are hurting right now, financially.
Yep.
I mean, their resources are taken away with kids going to school, even
Yep.
eating lunches, stuff that we don't think about.
Yep.
And you could be doing a lot more in your communities right now and spreading the gospel than just getting on Facebook Live and maybe getting 20 views.
Well, that's the thing. Everybody's home.
Yeah.
Right? People are off of work. People are in need even more now than ever. People, some people are just discouraged. And so finding creative ways to go out and witness without causing any problems is something that we
I'm glad you said
is
it.
trying
'Cause
to do.
we're actually doing something Friday.
Yeah, talk about some of that
I was
stuff.
gonna let you do it, but okay.
Well, go ahead and talk about
We're
it.
doing a prayer drive.
Prayer drive.
Drive, sorry.
It's just like a prayer walk.
Same thing.
But it's a prayer drive. And so we're going to drive throughout the community in a parade of cars that are going to be, decorated with balloons. And
Encouraging.
because I've seen these teachers, some of these teachers have been doing this with their kids. They drive by and honk and let their kids know that their students know that they miss them. And we're going to do that with our community to let them know that we miss them.
It's awesome.
I did not realize, because here's the thing about me. I don't like crowds of people. So when I go to a concert, I get nervous, I get anxious, I get frustrated. I don't like standing in long lines all the time. I don't like stores. I don't like going into stores because stores drive me nuts. I used to be a cashier at Walmart, and
Great place.
well, it drove me. As soon as I left Walmart, I said, I'm never coming back to this store ever again.
Have you been back?
Maybe 1 or 2 times, but my wife does all the shopping, so 'cause I can't. Retail is hard work. So for all you retailers out there, hang in there. Especially now, I couldn't do it. So, all these things I don't remember what I was talking about.
You said something about retail.
Prayer drive.
Prayer drive, that's
We're
where
talking
we're
about
at.
prayer.
Yeah, so to be able to encourage people through this prayer drive, I think is going to be something very special. To be able to say, hey, we miss you, we appreciate you, and we're thinking about you. I think it'll just be something so uplifting to people, and I'm excited to do that. And it helps us because we can still be social distancing, but also do something together, so it also unites us. Another thing that we're doing for Easter Day is we're going to do a montage of videos. To have, yeah, we're going to put all these, we're trying to get all these people to have a video of them doing one message, right? So we're going to put this together hopefully by Easter, and it's going to be one message from our church that's said by a bunch of people. I can't wait. It's going to be awesome. Another thing we're doing on Easter is we're asking people to send in, and if you want to do this, you can too. We'll give you our email address here in a second. But we're asking people to send in photos of their families. In the background of that photo, we're asking you to put an Easter egg somewhere so that kids can go through. We're going to put an album together on our Trinity Southern Baptist Church Facebook page, and we're going to try to put an album together so that kids can go through and look for hidden eggs. It's almost like Where's Waldo?
It is, almost. A virtual Easter egg hunt.
It's like Where's Waldo, but where's the Easter egg?
I love Waldo.
So I'm excited about that. Those are things that are fun that I think will be exciting for Easter weekend.
And a lot of this stuff, I feel like when people think of outreach opportunities, especially before this crisis happened or whatever, people were trying to think of all these elaborate things
Yes.
to do. And now it's very simple to come up with these
Very
things.
simple.
Like a prayer drive is super simple. You just get everybody in your church together, you drive through the
Very
community, and you're
creative.
praying for people. But it's a very effective way to encourage people. And then the virtual Easter egg thing too. I mean, it's not hard. You just take a picture.
Here's the problem. Everybody's getting discouraged. They're going, This is our first time not being able to have Easter. It's very discouraging. But you cannot look at it that way, right? Because we should be celebrating Easter technically every Sunday, right? Every day,
Yeah.
right? We should be celebrating the resurrection of Jesus. So we have to understand that in our heads, this, even though the physical, because it's not even, biblically, I don't even know if the dates match up for Easter, right? It doesn't even
Yeah.
match up. So we just picked a date and there we go. We call it Easter. So we cannot get caught up in the date, right? Just because we won't be able to celebrate Easter inside the church building, it's not. I mean, we're still going to be able to celebrate at home. We'll be able to celebrate when we come back to our churches. So it really upsets me when people get frustrated and discouraged, especially leaders in churches, because of a tradition that they have set in place for years that frustrates them. I was talking to a pastor that was saying how he's so excited because, he hasn't really been able to do anything out of the box because their church has been really stern on, they want everything, we've always done a Christmas Eve service. We've always done it this way. We've always had an Easter service. We've always done a Saturday morning Easter egg hunt in our backyard. And it's like, he's like, finally, for once, I can actually start to become a little bit more creative and think out of the box on some of this stuff. And I think that's what we have to do as a church. You have to think out
And
of
for
the
some
box.
of them, it's more like an excuse to be like, oh, we can't do anything because we can't meet on Easter, so we're just not going to do anything.
Yep.
But I feel like you really have to just take what you're given and just use it.
And you have to do that. You should be doing that
All the time.
All the time. You should be doing that when we have a bunch of people in service. We should always be constantly thinking out of the box and thinking about how we can outreach the people outside. Because I know a lot of people, even right now, a lot of pastors are starting to go inward, focused on just their members during this time.
Yeah.
They're sitting there going, I only want to do videos that are just pertaining to my members. Now, this is what really confused me. It's one thing to do that inside your church when your members are right there and you're not talking to a camera and you're focusing on their needs right then and there. But now that you're on the internet, you're opening yourself up to people from all over the world. And so if you're just focusing on your members at that point, you're missing out on sharing the gospel with a lot of people. You really are.
Yeah.
And this is the greatest opportunity for churches. I'm telling you, this is the greatest opportunity. We've had people coming up to us right now that are saying, man, when we come back, we're coming to your church.
Yeah.
Can't wait to see it. So we have to really understand that this is a great opportunity to grow as a church and to do outreach.
Because if you don't, other people will.
Hopefully.
Maybe. I don't
And
know.
it's not a competition, so I really do. I want to encourage every single church leader, if you're listening to this podcast, do something.
Please,
Yes.
whatever it is, feed people. Call people. But don't just call them to say, hey. Don't call and say, hey, how you doing? Call them and say, what can I do for you? That should be your mindset. Hey, what can we do for you today? What can we do for you this week? Hey, what's the issues that you're having? People need to know that they're being missed. And again, here's another thing that I hope that we're doing, because a lot of churches are checking on members, checking on old members. We need to do that during service.
Yeah, that
when
should
things
be-
are back in
yeah.
order, that should be a normal thing that we're doing. All right, let's change the subject because I think we're done there.
Yeah.
Outreach is important. Do outreach.
Yes.
Here's
Very
my next topic. I would say we're pretty good friends.
Oh, goodness.
Hope so.
So let's talk about working with friends.
Oh, man.
All right.
Maybe even more in particular, working with boyfriend girlfriends.
Oh, yeah. So if you're listening and you didn't listen to our first podcast,
Yeah.
me and Andrew are boyfriend and girlfriend.
How long have y'all been dating?
Too long.
How long have y'all been in ministry together? Church-wise? I mean, let's just talk about that because I think a lot of times it's hard. It's one thing to work in ministry with people, all right? To do it with friends is something that I think has been helpful to us
Yeah.
because you guys can read me better than most. But also, there's also cons, I'm sure.
Yeah,
too.
sometimes that's a bad thing.
So let's talk about it. Let's see where this goes.
All right, so
Well, I guess start with the basics. We've been together for how long? 5 years?
5 years, we've been pretty much in church our whole relationship,
That's awesome.
even together. So I would say after the first month, Andrew invited me to go to his church.
Good job,
And I'm
Andrew.
like, whoa, they have a youth. So I kind of switch churches, because, hey, they have a youth group, I could really grow at this church, so I did that.
You're telling me that a young person might go to a church that has an active youth?
Yes.
Shocking.
Yes, I am.
Golly.
Wow.
That is shocking to me.
I know.
So that was
New
awesome. And then I've been in ministry, working in ministry for about 4 years now.
In what
After-
regard?
So my first thing that I did was I became a intern with the church. After a year of being at the church with Andrew that we went to,
Yeah.
I became an intern.
Because you are already.
Because I went to this church camp and I was like, whoa, I feel like God wants me to do this, which is crazy, because I've never led anything or was a part of anything that was even ministry-wise, nothing at all. So I was an intern for 2 years, and then, well, actually 3 years, and then we came here. And I started a youth group, which was crazy. Never done that either.
Let's talk about how it's been easy on running that youth group together, right? The pros and cons, like being able to, well, let me give you the pastor's viewpoint on it. One, I've worked with him for a couple years before, right? A year and a half before. A year and a half, 2 years. Was it almost 2 years?
I feel like it was almost 2 years.
It's like it was almost 2 years. So I worked with them for 2 years before we even came to this church. So I already knew how their relationship worked. I already knew how they were in ministry. Because, you know, one of the things that would have been a hindrance for me is if you guys were very PDA-ish, right?
Oh, yeah.
If y'all displayed public displaying of affection,
Is that
right?
what that means?
Public display, yeah, it is. I don't know how you would say it in the form I'm trying to say it, but
We can-
No, I get
I wanted to make sure that, you know, that was one of the big things was if you guys were, you know, huggy-dubby in, you know, any church faces while trying to do ministry, it would have never worked. It
Well,
just can't.
especially in youth. I mean, it's
Especially in
horrible.
youth, my word. So that was one of the things that I always watched was making sure that you guys were professional in those settings, in ministry settings. But number two, the other thing that was very a benefit for us as a church is, you know, in ministry it's very hard when you're working with teenagers, right? And to put anybody in that position, you have to be very careful because a lot of people, especially a lot of men, have failed in youth ministry because they're there by themselves. They're there with young girls, and they're being put in positions that are uncomfortable for them. They're being put in positions that are uncomfortable for the girls. You know, having, you know,
Yeah,
I don't have anyone to take me home. You know, those are the things that we wanted to avoid, and so to have you guys there together, I know that, you know,
It's made it easier
It
with
has,
those things.
yes.
I mean, I'm a girl, Andrew's a boy. If a girl needs a ride home from youth, I can do it, get permission from the parents, of course, but I can do it.
Yeah.
Andrew, if there's a boy, we're never alone. Never alone with opposites.
Same with conversation. So if a girl is having issues and she needs to talk about something, it's so much easier to be able to, for her just to say, I'm gonna go talk to my youth leader, Brittany,
Yeah.
as opposed to saying, well, I gotta talk to Andrew
Right.
about this
Yeah.
girl problem I'm having. I don't want to. You know, those are things that are
Yeah.
just huge.
Does
For
make it-
sure, and the one thing is girls go through different things than boys, so to have an older leader
Say
that
that
is a
again,
girl,
please. Say that again.
girls go through different things than boys
Amen.
do.
Amen.
And it's good to have someone that you know has been through those things
Yeah.
as well. I mean, let's be honest, girls are a little catty, a little bit of gossip. You gotta learn how to direct them.
Wow, this
I'm just
converged.
being
She
honest.
said this. This is Brittany that's talking. This is not us.
Yes, I'm a girl.
We
so
do
I
not
can say
condone
that.
what's being said. This is her own personal opinion.
But it's true. I mean, I've been in youth for 4 years. There's a lot of drama that comes with girls.
Yeah.
And you gotta learn how to, you know, put a stop to it. And you gotta know how, hey, this is what Jesus says about others. This is how you should feel about other people. And you can, I mean, it's just been awesome in that aspect of doing
Youth-
ministry.
Doing youth is very interesting because at any moment, division can come into that youth group and cause that thing to explode.
Yeah.
Right? They're very touchy, so you have to be very careful
Yeah.
on that. But talk a little bit about how your relationship has helped, or you know, it's helped you guys out maybe in planning the lessons, or
Well, I think as far as planning lessons go, it makes it 100 times easier because you're able to say, hey, like, I mean, on the fly, things can change, and having like,
We're together all
Yeah,
the time,
pretty
so
much,
it's
yeah.
easy to
But,
say, hey,
yeah.
can you do this?
or
And
like help me
not,
here or whatever, you know.
not hurt each other's feelings.
There
I
it
mean,
is.
We're pretty open with each other about, hey, like, you need to do this, or hey, you need to step up. It's easier to have those conversations when you are in a relationship with someone or a friend.
and you guys are not in competition.
No, not at all.
I've worked with youth pastors, youth ministers before who, you know, you could tell there was a competition aspect of it, there was jealousy aspect of it, because, you know.
One
this-
had a higher position.
Yeah, one has a higher position, or this kid's coming to this person more, so there's that comes in there that would really, that causes friction between the leaders. And you
Yeah.
guys don't necessarily have that
No, we
because you
both
guys-
want it to
Yes.
be as best as it possibly
Yes.
can be, which
Yeah.
Now, let's talk negative.
I would say.
Which is
I
the
mean,
same, almost
you
the
know,
same,
Yeah.
it's almost the same
Yeah, it is.
stuff.
We can come to each other all the time. That's one thing. You're like, oh hey, get annoyed sometimes. I mean,
And sometimes it can be hard to, I don't know, sometimes it can be hard, I think, to talk about I'll let y'all do this, but sometimes it can be hard to really, you know, tell someone that what they're doing is wrong.
yeah.
Because you love them and you care about them, and you're like, listen,
that's hard,
your
yeah.
lesson sucks today.
Or yeah, giving them constructive
yeah,
criticism
constructive
and being in a
criticism.
relationship with them. It's like,
It's harder.
please
It's
don't
hard
be
to
mad
take
at me
that.
for saying that.
Yeah, it's harder to take that when you're in a relationship. But
Yeah, because you're like, oh, they love me no matter what, but then they're saying, oh, I sucked this time.
Listen, this happens to my wife. I sit there and I'll show my wife a video I make, and then she'll say,
it's terrible.
or she'll be like, "Oh wow, that was pretty. That was good." I'm like, "Oh, I mean, like, what do you think was good about it?" It's like, "Oh well, it was a little long, but other than that," I'm like, "Oh okay." So those are, yeah. I mean,
But I guess that could be a good thing too, because to me, I don't feel like I have to. I don't feel like I have to lie. Yeah, I can just be
Yes,
honest. You
yeah,
know,
that's
I don't have
true.
to. I don't have to.
we've been talking about relationships, friends, relationships, and leadership, and we just got finished with talking about relationships as far as you guys,
Yeah,
boyfriend, girlfriend.
That's awesome.
yep.
But now let's switch and turn this to relationships as far as our friendships, right? I'm a pastor here. You guys are the youth leader / Angel's a worship leader. You are a secretary.
Yep.
If you like being called a secretary, it should be administrative assistant.
I don't care. I'm not big on, titles.
Well,
Whatever.
so let's talk about our friendship and the pros and cons.
I would consider us all pretty good friends. We all get on each other's nerves a lot, obviously. But
Here's-
at the end of the day, we know,
We can count on each other.
yeah, we can count
Yes.
on each other, even if we know we're mad at each other.
But I'll say this. Let me go back. I get annoyed with a lot of people.
That is a very
In
true
general.
statement.
In general, right? So, because I'm a very picky person as far as, especially ministry. I'm not very picky on other things. Ministry,
Not food.
I grew up, well, I mean, I'm talking about relationship, talking about people. I'm very picky when it comes to food. But you talk about ministry, for me, ministry is, there is a sense of ministry that is supposed to be reverent. There's a sense of ministry that I think ministry should be done in a certain way. For me, there should be a sense of urgency. Ministry should be done a certain way. We should really be proactive in ministry. And so when I work with a church that's not doing that, it really, or people that don't have that same mindset, it really burdens me. And so I get annoyed very, very quickly, which is a downside probably of that. But, hold on.
He's not done.
I was pausing for a
Okay, my bad.
But the upside to that is, one of the reasons I really like to have you guys here is because you guys have the same mindset as far as all those things, right? You guys understand the sense of urgency that we have. You guys understand the importance of doing outreach, the importance of doing things. So when I come at you guys frustrated about something and I need to vent, you guys have always been pretty open about letting me vent.
Yeah. And we've also been pretty open about telling you when you're wrong.
Don't let him spit his water out.
That is true.
And the same with him, though. If we're wrong and he thinks we're not being held accountable, we hold each other accountable pretty well,
Yeah.
I would say.
Today, I literally just gave them a lesson on a problem that I saw on Wednesday on their
But
live
it's a good
feed.
benefit because
It is.
Because if we didn't have the relationship, if we were all just coworkers and just
Yes.
didn't know each other, it would be harder to do because you probably wouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
Well, or it would have came across as like
Teacher moment, like a.
for me it was here. You guys can really learn from this, right? So that the next time it won't even be
and we took it that way.
you won't even think about it. It'll just be like, oh, this is what we need to do. If it was in a different way, I could see how it would be
Right.
offensive.
Right.
But you guys handle it pretty well. The other thing is, and maybe this is a bad thing. For me, it's a great thing. But you guys, I know I can text you or call you at any time,
Yeah.
day or night.
We'd answer.
So maybe it's a bad thing, but for me it's a good thing because
Yeah, but-
I know that you guys are there for me. So
Well, and the other thing that I really like about like our whole dynamic is Abram's been a youth pastor
Yes.
before, and me and Andrew stepping up and being youth leaders, we didn't really know how to run a youth group
We've been
that
in one.
well. And having someone that's our friend that we can go to for advice is a lot more easier than it would be if I had to go to like a boss that I really didn't know and didn't see them actually in ministry. So that's been really cool.
well, to add to that, yeah, I'm glad you said that. I like this. We should do this more often.
Yeah, probably not.
But to add to that, and for me, one of the biggest things when I put you guys in that position was to let you, to not overbear, to micromanage you guys in that position. And that was because I've been micromanaged in that position before. So being able to give you all that freedom has been great for me to see you guys blossom in it. But I'm going to tell you what, it's good to have friends in ministry.
True that. Makes it easier.
Being a pastor can be a very lonely road, especially in a position where the church is growing, because a lot of people get, a lot of other pastors will put up a defensive wall, I think, against you for whatever reason. I don't know what that reason is. I haven't really figured that out. So I've had a lot of disdain towards us, I think it seems like, from a lot of people because of our growth, which has been very discouraging on some fronts, but on the other fronts, it's been nice to know that you guys are right there with me and we're making a difference in the world.
Yeah, and we can encourage one another
Yes.
very easily.
Easy. Easy to do.
And we have the same mindset about things, so we
Guess
get
you don't have to explain yourself.
No. And you guys can let me vent for 20 minutes and then you guys are like, all right, we're good.
Happens quite frequently.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
My biggest worry though is burnout.
Yeah, there's a balance.
You know,
Relationships.
we don't want to burn each other out.
But I think,
But there's a pro to that because we can talk about it. We never feel like we've got too much on our
I
plate.
gotta take a break, Abram.
yeah,
I'm waiting for that conversation, but
no.
We don't have to.
I feel like when you're called to do something, you find joy in what you're doing, and
yep.
it's
Yeah, every
just-
time we show up here, it's like a refreshing. Like,
Yeah,
just
and
sense.
having this pandemic that's going on has really shown me how much I actually miss it.
Yep.
Like miss having all these things going on in the church, having youth meet.
Yep.
And I think even the kids that we have in our youth group are seeing that too. I mean, they write us, they're like, hey, like, when are you putting up this video? All those type of things. So that's been really cool to see. And I don't know, I'm excited to get back.
Me too.
Me too.
miss it.
Was I talking about this at one point?
Yeah, we did. Miss the people.
This was the store. Oh man, this is. Let me say this, and then we'll wrap it up. Because I remember now that I was talking about the retail. I used to hate crowds. I used to hate
We're
going.
going real back.
I know I am. I used to work at Walmart. I said I never wanted to go back there, and that's one of the things that I really it really has been like, I can't wait to stand in a long line next to people without worrying about if they're going to cough on me or not.
Social distancing.
It's so weird how that works in life, but anyway, that's all I have.
I'm anxious
really.
to get back.
I am too. I'm excited to be back.
But I'm more excited to continue what we're doing now. I hope other people do, like we said, but I'm more excited to do both, to go back to church and to keep doing what we're doing.
And let me give you a little bit of encouragement. We are growing without recognizing it. We're growing in numbers. We have so many people that we're seeing on our online services. We already have 3 people that we're going to be, as soon as church is back, we're going to get baptisms going again. So even though we're not together, things are happening. People are growing. People are receiving Christ still. And that stuff's exciting to me.
Yeah.
I like it.
And we are the church. We are in this together. So,
And the church is still moving.
Church on the move.
amen.
Church on the move.
All right, that's all I have, man.
Before we go, I'll remind you what the email is.
Thank you.
preachingyoung@gmail.com. No caps, no spaces.
Send us those Easter photos.
Oh yeah,
All right.
send us that.
This is Brittany.
This is Andrew.
And Abram.
And this is.
We're out!